When an alien armada invaded the solar system, the hegemony thought Earth was doomed. But humanity turned out not to be prey. They were hunters, secretly preparing for this moment for years. They turned the moon into a trap, the planet into a battlefield, and every weakness into a weapon. The galactic reinforcements never even had time to intervene. The battle was already over. Humanity didn't just survive, they changed the balance of power across the stars. Stay with us to find out how the story ends, and don't forget to subscribe. Ambassador Vex'tulia Noor, then of the galactic hegemony, loathed diplomatic missions to primitive worlds. They were always so messy. This one, however, was proving particularly exasperating. Humans. She stared out the viewport of her shuttle as it descended through Earth's atmosphere toward a continent the locals called North America. Her mandibles clicked in irritation. This was her fourth visit to the planet in as many cycles, and each time these bipedal mammals managed to surprise her in increasingly frustrating ways. Ambassador, we are approaching the designated landing zone, announced Pilot Krell, his voice betraying none of the tension surely gripping him. After what had happened last time, everyone on the diplomatic team was on edge. Excellent, Vex'tulia replied, smoothing the front of her ceremonial robes. Let's hope these humans have learned basic etiquette since our last encounter. Privately, she didn't expect much. The galactic hegemony had classified humanity as a Class 3 civilization, technologically capable of interplanetary travel, but nowhere near the refinement necessary for true galactic citizenship. They were loud, erratic, and worst of all, they had no sense of proper hierarchical deference. The shuttle touched down with a whisper on the landing pad of the United Earth Government headquarters in what the natives called New Geneva. Outside, a small delegation waited. Vex'tulia immediately recognized President Eliza Morova, the woman who had dared to laugh during the sacred greeting of 7 silences during their last meeting. Remember, Vex'tulia said to her team, 5 diplomats and 2 towering security officers, minimal interaction. We present our terms. We receive their response. We leave. The council has been clear. If they refuse again, Earth will be quarantined. Security Officer Drex, a hulking Var whose obsidian exoskeleton gleamed under the lights, rumbled. Perhaps a demonstration of force would hasten negotiations. Not yet, Vex'tulia snapped, though inwardly she agreed. Putting these primates in their place would be satisfying. The airlock hissed open, and Earth's atmosphere rushed in, rich with oxygen, but tainted by 1,000 pollutants. Her filtration implants kicked in immediately, though the peculiar musk of humanity still reached her, fermented vegetation, chemical solvents, and something else, something sharp and alive. President Morova stepped forward, dark-skinned and dressed in the crisp white uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. Ambassador Dolvin, she said with a practiced smile. Welcome back to Earth. We hope your journey was pleasant. It was adequate, Vex'tulia replied, deliberately omitting any reciprocal pleasantries. I trust you've reviewed our previous communications? A flicker of annoyance crossed Morova's features, quickly suppressed. We have, she said, and we've prepared a formal response. But first, allow me to introduce our new military liaison, Captain Jackson Harper, United Earth Marine Corps. Vex'tulia turned to the tall human male who stepped forward. His skin was the color of the stimulant beans his species consumed obsessively, and his face was marked with faint scars. Most striking were his eyes, startlingly green and entirely devoid of fear. That alone set him apart from the lesser species who typically cowered in the presence of hegemony officials. Ma'am, he said simply, giving a curt nod that fell far short of proper deference. Your military rank holds no significance in this dialogue. Human, Vex'tulia said icily. This is a matter between your government and the 97 worlds of the galactic hegemony. With respect. Ambassador, Harper replied, when one party threatens inescapable consequences if demands aren't met, it becomes a military matter. Vex'tulia's frills flushed with indignation. The hegemony does not threaten, Captain. We state realities. Your planet sits at the edge of Salician space. The protection protocols are non-negotiable. Ah yes, President Morova interjected quickly, gesturing toward the structure behind them. Perhaps we should continue this inside. The summit room has been prepared. Inside, the summit room was painfully terrestrial. Rectangular everything, harsh lighting, and those stiff-backed chairs humans seemed to prefer. The Earth delegation took their places opposite the obsidian negotiation table, one of the few concessions to hegemony custom. Ambassador, Morova began once everyone was seated. We've reviewed the protection agreement. While we appreciate the hegemony's concern regarding Salician aggression, we cannot accept terms that effectively surrender our orbital sovereignty and strategic command. Vex'tulia's frills extended fully, an unmistakable sign of dominant displeasure. The humans didn't flinch. Your gratitude is irrelevant. The Salaxians have consumed 12 worlds in the last cycle alone. Their technology is brutal, but effective. You cannot repel them. The hegemony offers protection in exchange for reasonable accommodation. 50% of our global uranium output is not reasonable, Harper said flatly. Neither is placing your warships in permanent orbit over our cities. The alternative, Vex'tulia said with razor precision, is extinction. The Salaxians do not negotiate. They consume. The hegemony has held them back for 2,000 cycles. We know what is required. Harper leaned forward, green eyes locked on hers. With all due respect, Ambassador, we've reviewed your records. Your last actual engagement with the Salaxians was over 300 years ago. Since then, it's been posturing. Meanwhile, humanity has fought 17 wars in the past century alone. One of Vex'tula's aides gasped at the breach of decorum. She silenced him with a flick of her clawed hand. You speak as if your barbaric tendency towards self-destruction is commendable. I'm just saying, Harper replied with a shrug. We might know a thing or two about real combat that your people have forgotten. Did you even consider what we might bring to the table? Or did you assume we'd surrender our resources just because you have shinier ships? Drex's claws twitched ominously. This discussion is pointless, Vex'tula said, rising to her full height. Your primitiveness extends beyond your technology. The hegemony's terms are not suggestions. You have 10 solar rotations to reconsider. After that, isolation protocols will begin. You mean a blockade, Harper said, rising as well. Let's call it what it is. Call it whatever your limited vocabulary allows, she snapped. Ambassador, please, Morova pleaded. We believe there's a middle ground, one that respects both your security concerns and our sovereignty. There is no middle ground between survival and extinction, Vex'tula declared. But I will relay your stubbornness to the council. As they turned to leave, an alarm blared through the complex. Red lights flashed. What deception is this? Drex growled, weapon forming in his grasp. A human aide rushed forward, pale-faced. Proximity alert. Multiple unknown vessels just entered the solar system. No response to hails. Vex'tula's blood ran cold. Configuration? The aide's voice trembled, matching Salacian's signature. For the first time in her 300-cycle diplomatic career, Ambassador Vex'tula Dolden was speechless. The Salaxians were not supposed to be here. They had never ventured this far from their known territories. Every model, every predictive algorithm insisted they wouldn't risk an incursion into a system so close to hegemony-monitored space. Impossible, whispered her aide Zenith. Clearly your algorithms were flawed, Harper muttered, no longer posturing, just focused. He tapped the device on his wrist. Harper to command. Initiate Protocol Thunderhead. This is not a drill. President Morova turned toward Vex'tula. Her voice tight but calm. Ambassador, it seems our theoretical discussion has just become quite practical. You and your team should return to your shuttle immediately. We're activating full planetary defense protocols. Vex'tula's mind was racing. This changed everything. If Salaxians were truly here, the hegemony had to be informed immediately. But evacuation protocol dictated withdrawal in uncertain combat zones. No, she decided aloud. We will remain. The hegemony must witness this development firsthand. Harper gave her a look that was neither approval nor mockery. Your funeral, he muttered, already issuing orders to the personnel flooding into the room. Within minutes, they were escorted into the depths of the Earth government building beneath layers of reinforced alloy, through hardened corridors, and into what the humans called the Strategic Operations Center. What Vex'tula expected was chaos. What she found instead was precision. Screens flickered to life. Officers moved between consoles. The air thrummed with tension, but not panic. Hegemony has underestimated them, she murmured, mostly to herself. Multiple contacts emerging from lunar shadow, a technician called out. Salacian formation, 7 vessels. Harvester class. Their jagged silhouettes were unmistakable even on these primitive systems. Vex'tula felt a chill run through her. Send an alert to the hegemony fleet at Proxima Centauri, she ordered Krell. Request immediate reinforcements. The nearest response force is over 3 days away, Krell replied. Even at maximum fold. On the main display, Earth's defense grid lit up, satellites activating, orbital platforms aligning, intercept ships scrambling. Vex'tula watched in stunned silence as a dozen human ships, crewed by galactic standards, rose from planetary orbit and accelerated toward the Salacian vessels. What are they doing? Zenith asked, aghast. They're not even in formation. They're going to get slaughtered. But then, something unexpected happened. The lead Salacian vessel shuddered under impact. Not from a broadside volley, but from within. Multiple points of light erupted along its hull, not external strikes, but internal detonations. They've pierced their propulsion clusters, Harper said. We've studied their weak points for years. You have studied them? Harper didn't turn to look at her. We hacked your databases. After your first visit, once we realized you considered us irrelevant, we figured we'd better prepare for the things you weren't telling us. Vex'tula should have been furious. But instead, she found herself intrigued. These creatures were savages, yes, but they were also clever. Dangerous. The humans took losses, terrible ones. Ships exploded, hulls ruptured, entire crews atomized. Yet they pressed on, like a tidal wave of defiance. Colonial fleet arriving from Mars, someone shouted. EMP warheads deployed. The screen pulsed as 3 more Salacian ships faltered, systems overloaded by massive energy disruption. One began to drift, weapon systems dark. The others are adjusting formation, a technician said. They're retaliating. Energy lances erupted from the Salacian ships, carving through the human lines. Vex'tula winced at the destruction. Casualties? Morova asked. Platform 3 destroyed. 28 vessels lost. Heavy damage to Orbital Station Newark. thousands dead. And yet, the humans didn't flinch. They responded not with wails or mourning but with coordination. Focus. You acknowledge such loss without reaction, Vex'tulia said, almost accusingly. Because we're not here to survive, Harper replied. We're here to win. And then it happened. Another Salician harvester exploded, ruptured from its core. The remaining ships began to retreat, curving away from Earth, deeper into the system. They're running, Zenith said. No, Harper corrected. They're regrouping. This was a scouting force. The real threat is still coming. He turned toward Vex'tulia. So, Ambassador, about that protection agreement. She looked at him, studying the man not as an annoyance, but as something else entirely. In one engagement, she said slowly, you accomplished what our fleets have failed to do in centuries. Harper's scarred face tilted in what might have been amusement. Oh, Ambassador, you have no idea. He grinned. We haven't even started committing war crimes yet. Despite everything she knew about galactic diplomacy, order, and protocol, Vex'tulia found herself smiling. Just a little. War crimes. Vex'tulia's mandibles clicked with confusion. You speak of violations of combat ethics, as if they're tactical strategies. Harper tilted his head, his expression unreadable. Walk with me. He gestured toward a corridor adjacent to the command center. Vex'tulia gave a silent command to Drex to remain with the others and followed the human captain into a narrower passage, lined with armored plating and quiet emergency lights. The corridor led them into a compact briefing room overlooking New Geneva's distant mountain ranges. Harper secured the door. The hegemony has been fighting the Salaxians the wrong way, he said without preamble. You treat them like a conventional enemy. You think there's something you can intimidate with force, contain with borders, deter with policy. He stepped to the center console and activated a holoprojector. It displayed a map of Earth's defenses, then zoomed out to show the solar system, then beyond, dots of light indicating known Salician movement over recent decades. They're not diplomats. They're predators, Harper continued. And the only thing predators understand is pain. They are not mere predators, Vex'tulia said, voice sharp. They're a technologically advanced species with fold space capabilities and a structured hierarchy. Sophisticated, not instinct-driven. Then let's call them what they are. Sophisticated predators, Harper said without missing a beat. And predators only back off when the cost of the hunt outweighs the meal. Outside the window, emergency shuttles streamed across the sky, evacuating civilian zones from projected impact regions. What exactly did you mean, Vex'tulia asked, when you said you hadn't started committing war crimes yet? Harper's eyes gleamed, not with malice, but something colder. Resigned determination. Throughout our history, he said, we created rules for warfare, Geneva Conventions, codes of conduct, protocols. We tried to civilize conflict. But survival doesn't always allow for elegance. You abandon your principles, she said, voice dipped in contempt, when threatened. Not abandon, Harper said. We evolve them. He tapped the console again. Footage began to roll, primitive, by galactic standards, but undeniably brutal. Guerrilla warfare. Ambitious. Asymmetric engagements. Human soldiers fighting in jungles, ruins, urban slums. Improvised weapons. Psychological tactics. Enemies that couldn't be fought in open battle being dismantled through sheer, relentless adaptation. We spent millennia fighting stronger enemies with less, Harper said. It's what made us what we are. Vex'tulia found herself watching the footage with unexpected attention. The savagery should have repelled her, but instead, it fascinated. You believe this will work against the Salaxians? I know it will, Harper said. Because we've been preparing for this since the moment you first stepped onto our world and told us what was out there. Before she could answer, her implant chimed with an urgent tone. Ambassador, came Krell's voice, tense. The Salaxians have altered course. They're not retreating to deep space. They're moving toward Earth's moon. Harper was already moving. They're going for the helium-3 deposits. Exactly as predicted. Back in the command center, the air was thick with purpose. The chaos of the earlier skirmish had settled into clear, focused coordination. Luna Defense Grid is online, a technician reported. Artemis base shielded. The lunar colonies have minimal armaments, Vex'tulia said. They'll be overrun. Actually, Harper replied, exchanging a look with President Morova. We've been expecting this. He tapped his wrist communicator. Confirmation received. Package is hot. On the tactical display, the 5 remaining Salician harvesters moved into lunar orbit, their ships descending toward the moon's surface with cold precision. Are you abandoning the moon? Zenith asked, horrified. Not exactly, Harper said calmly. The moment the Salaxians began deploying their harvest systems, the lunar surface lit up. Explosions rippled across the terrain, not just targeted strikes, but massive, coordinated detonations. Flame bloomed in unnatural colors. Craters collapsed inward, devouring landing platforms. Salician ships disappeared in the infernos. What have you done? Vex'tulia whispered. We converted every major helium-3 site into a thermonuclear trap, Harper replied. Triggered the moment extraction began. You sacrificed your own moon? Zenith gasped. We evacuated all personnel weeks ago when deep space anomalies first appeared, Morova explained. The facilities were automated. The damage is contained. The moon will recover. The Salaxians won't. Vex'tulia returned to the displays again. One harvester ship was gone entirely. Another spun out of control, trailing debris. The remaining vessels regrouped, fewer in number now, but still deadly. They're launching landing craft, someone called. Headed for Earth's surface. They're coming for our uranium and population centers, Harper said. Standard Salesian doctrine. If they establish ground bases, you'll never drive them out, Drex warned. Harper smiled. Oh, we're counting on them trying. He opened a channel. Admiral Patel. Commence Operation Scorched Earth. A new face appeared on the screen. A gray-haired woman with a gaze like volcanic glass. Ground teams are in position, she said. May God have mercy on their souls. Because we certainly won't. The tactical displays shifted to a global view, Earth rotating slowly beneath them. Red arcs tracked the descent of Salesian landing craft. Dozens, perhaps hundreds. Most targeted dense population zones. Others, uranium-rich regions, the very resources they had tried to seize diplomatically just days earlier. Let's give them a welcome party, Harper muttered. At first, Vex'tulia saw nothing. No planetary weapons batteries, no armies gathering on the ground, no organized military response. Then she noticed the irregularities in terrain, subtle ripples in deserts, odd geometric patterns near cities, faint discolorations in forests. What is this? She asked. Reception, Harper said. The first Salesian craft touched down outside what the human system identified as Sao Paulo. As soon as the ship's ramp extended, the ground beneath it ignited in a blinding flash. Not from explosives, but something thicker, alive. Experimental containment gel, Morova said. Custom engineered for Salesian physiology. Based on your own medical records, actually. You've weaponized your environment, Vex'tulia whispered. Every region of Earth has been layered with adaptive defense systems, Harper explained. We assumed orbital defense might fail. So we build a fallback, millions of square kilometers prepared for asymmetric warfare. On another feed, Salesian units emerged in the Australian outback. They were met not by soldiers, but by silence, until the terrain itself collapsed into engineered sinkholes, dragging entire squads into what appeared to be mines laced with incendiary vapor. They expect a military front, Harper said. But we don't fight like that. We don't present targets. We disappear and reappear behind them. Our goal is not to hold the line. Our goal is to make every square meter of Earth a kill zone. They have no central target, Vex'tulia murmured. Exactly, Harper nodded. No base to strike. No command to decapitate. Just civilians, until they're not. She watched as human resistance cells emerged in places she'd never expect. Farmlands, city alleys, even underwater settlements. They moved in coordinated strikes, hit, vanish, hit again. High-value targets disappeared under bursts of fire and magnetic mines. Salesian troops attempted to regroup. They failed. On another screen, a Salesian vessel prepared to deploy its crust-burrowing extraction lance. Just before it fired, dozens of small, crude satellites swarmed it, each one launched independently from hidden orbital vaults. Kinetic harpoons, Harper said. No energy. No signatures. Just a rod of tungsten and a whole lot of velocity. One of the harpoons slammed into the Salesian ship, puncturing straight through its energy shielding designed for lasers, not mass. The vessel spasmed. Then it began to fall. Vex'tulia turned slowly toward him. You planned all of this. We planned for everything we weren't told, he replied. Your visit was the beginning. The more you postured, the more we realized we'd be on our own. So we stopped preparing to beg for help. We prepared to survive without it. Drex growled. You stole our technology. We learned from it, Harper said without hesitation. And we improved it. They're adapting, a technician reported. Remaining Salesian forces are shifting focus, less about harvesting now, more about destroying infrastructure. A warning siren interrupted the conversation. Emergency alert, a voice shouted. One of the damaged harvester vessels is descending. It's on a direct collision course, New Geneva. Evacuate personnel, Morova ordered. All protocols activate blast shields. But Harper didn't move. No need, he said calmly. Atlas system is online. From orbit, a new light ignited, thin and focused, like a column of white fire descending from the heavens. It struck the descending Salesian vessel mid-atmosphere. Instead of exploding, the harvester stopped, frozen mid-fall, hovering. What is that? Vex'tulia breathed. Atmospheric tractor laser array system, Harper replied. Atlas, for short. Reverse engineered from hegemony gravity tech with some human adjustments. Been up there for 2 years. Disguised as weather satellites. The harvester hung in place, slowly pivoted, and began to descend controlled, captured, completely neutralized. We'll want it mostly intact for study, he added. Vex'tulia stared at him. Her view of the species before her was in freefall. You've been preparing since our first visit, she said. The moment we realized your protection meant subjugation, Harper answered, we knew we needed other options. And you chose war? No, Morova said, stepping forward. We chose freedom. And we chose to earn it ourselves. Vex'tulia looked between them, this quiet, coordinated duo who had just pulled the planet back from extinction. Not with overwhelming force, but with imagination, ruthless creativity, a refusal to accept helplessness. In 30 hours, Krell reported through her implant, The hegemony reinforcement fleet will arrive. Harper smiled faintly. Too late to claim the glory, I'm afraid. But we'd welcome their help cleaning up the mess. Vex'tulia felt something unexpected stir in her mind. Respect. President Morova faced her squarely. Ambassador, before your reinforcements arrive, I suggest we draft a new agreement. What terms could you possibly propose now? Alliance, Morova said. Not submission. Earth joins the hegemony as a full member, with equal standing. Harper nodded. And we help you stop containing the Salaxians and start defeating them. Vex'tulia didn't respond immediately. The screens around her showed a planet still burning, still bleeding, but still alive. And fighting. And winning. Vex'tulia remained silent as the images on the tactical displays shifted from battlefield chaos to coordinated recovery. The last of the Salaxian landing craft were either annihilated or retreating in disarray. A few had been captured, intact enough for study. The efficiency was chilling. Not robotic. Not mindless. But born of purpose. You said this arrangement would be unprecedented, Harper reminded her, watching her carefully. Yes, Vex'tulia admitted. A Class 3 civilization defeating a Salaxian harvester fleet unaided is beyond precedent. It is anomaly. A violation of probability. And yet here we are. Vex'tulia took a long breath. The hegemony will be skeptical. They will see this as a fluke. A desperate act of survival, not a sign of true maturity. Then tell them the truth, Morova said. We're not perfect. We're not peaceful. But we're ready. Your readiness, Vex'tulia replied, is unique. Your adaptability, unsettling. Unsettling is often what survival looks like, Harper said. A technician interrupted. Field teams report secure containment of 2 harvester command cores. One is still semi-functional. Prep them for study, Harper ordered. RR and D people will want to take them apart molecule by molecule. Morova turned back to Vex'tulia. You've seen the scope of our preparation, our coordination, our willingness to make hard decisions. But what you haven't seen yet is our motivation. She gestured toward a console. A feed appeared, civilian shelters opening across the planet. Families emerging. Children blinking in the light. Entire communities cheering, crying, hugging. We didn't build those weapons to conquer, she said softly. We built them to protect that. Vex'tulia didn't speak. She couldn't. Her worldview was crumbling under the weight of what she had seen, what she had underestimated. And that, Harper said, is why you should take our offer seriously. Because we're not just asking to be included in the hegemony. We're offering you something in return. To change the way we fight, she said. To remember why we ever fought at all. The moment settled between them like a truce unspoken. Then another message came through her implant. Krell's voice again. Ambassador. The hegemony fleet has updated its ETA. 32 hours. We're rerouting them to coordinate cleanup on the outer system. Harper gave a short laugh. Cleanup duty. Guess they'll miss the fireworks. We will report what we've seen, Vex'tulia said. Accurately. With full data. And your recommendation? Morova asked. Vex'tulia looked between them. Acceptance. A moment of stunned silence. I will present Earth's petition for equal entry into the hegemony. With my personal endorsement. And a formal proposal to adopt your defensive models. Harper raised a brow. Didn't think we'd convert you this fast. I'm not converted, Vex'tulia replied. I'm convinced. She turned toward the display one last time. What still confuses me, she said slowly, is your earlier mention of war crimes. I've seen nothing unethical in your conduct. Unorthodox, yes. Brutal, certainly. But nothing that violates galactic warfare statutes. Harper's expression turned thoughtful. Then serious. The war crimes line was psychological warfare. She blinked. A bluff. A warning, he said. Sometimes, unpredictability is a weapon. We wanted the Salaxians to believe we were capable of anything. That fear makes them hesitate. That hesitation saves lives. And are you, she asked, capable of anything? Harper's green eyes met hers. If necessary. But you still choose restraint. When we can. It's what separates us from monsters. Vex'tulia studied him for a long moment. Perhaps, she thought, the galaxy needed a new kind of monster, one that could defend the weak, adapt to the unknown, and smile in the face of extinction, then win. I believe, she said, the hegemony has much to learn from your species. Just don't try to study us like a science project, Harper said with a smirk. Too late, Vex'tulia replied. They both chuckled. And for the first time since landing on Earth, it felt real. In the hours that followed, Earth's command centers shifted from battle coordination to full-scale recovery and analysis. Medical teams surged across affected zones. Drone swarms searched debris fields for survivors and salvage. Human and alien alike moved with unspoken urgency. The war wasn't over, not truly, but this battle, at least, had been won. Vex'tulia watched from a raised platform overlooking the central operations deck. Around her, holographic projections displayed real-time global data, damage assessments, survivor reports, Salaxian wreckage locations. The efficiency of it all was surreal. And then, something even more unexpected happened. President Morova offered Vex'tulia and her delegation unrestricted access to Earth's cleanup operations. You want us to observe? Vex'tulia asked, skeptical. We want you to understand, Morova replied. Not just what we can do, but why we do it. Vex'tulia accepted. She and her team were escorted to several ground sites across the planet via orbital drop raft. What they witnessed was staggering. Containment protocols for alien tech rivaled anything in hegemony archives. Neutralization fields, nanite decontamination grids, and even human-designed thought interference chambers for possible psychic interfaces. You developed this in just 4 years? Zenith asked at one site, voice full of disbelief. When survival is at stake, said one technician with a grin, human creativity becomes terrifyingly effective. Later, at a facility deep beneath Greenland's glacial shelves, Vex'tulia stood before a containment unit that housed a captured Salesian energy core. Human scientists, some in full hazmat gear, others in shirt sleeves, circled the artifact, running diagnostics and exchanging hypotheses at machine gun speed. We don't understand most of what we're looking at, admitted one of the lead researchers. But we're trying. And trying faster than any alien species expected us to. And when you succeed? Vex'tulia asked. The woman grinned. We make it better. Elsewhere, Harper walked with Drex and another of Vex'tulia's guards through a series of weapon testing platforms. Each demonstrated repurposed hegemony tech, combined with crude human engineering into something brutally elegant. This is illegal, Drex growled. Hegemony technology is not to be shared without treaty approval. Harper just shrugged. Maybe it's time to renegotiate the rules. Back aboard the Leviathan-class orbital platform, the centerpiece of Earth's defense grid, Morova convened one final meeting with Vex'tulia and her team before the hegemony fleet's arrival. The conversation was frank. This cannot be treated as an exception, Morova said. Earth's success here proves that adaptability matters more than legacy. It's not just about firepower. It's about mindset, planning, risk, sacrifice. Vex'tulia didn't argue. She couldn't. Everything she'd seen since the Salaxians arrived shattered the centuries-old assumptions of the hegemony's superiority. And somewhere inside, she knew this wouldn't be the last time humanity would face such threats. But it might be the last time they faced them alone. I will advocate for Earth's inclusion, she said, rising. But I warn you, some in the Council will resist. They will fear you. They should, Harper said. A little fear keeps everyone honest. Morova didn't smile. We don't seek to dominate the hegemony, Ambassador. We seek to contribute to it. If the hegemony allows itself to evolve, to learn, to adapt, then we may all have a future. And if it doesn't? Morova met her gaze squarely. Then we'll make one. That night, as Earth rotated into shadow and the stars above returned to dominance, Vex'tulia stood at a viewing deck overlooking the planet. She thought of her first visit here, of the arrogance she had brought with her, of the dismissiveness, the superiority, and how thoroughly the humans had stripped it all away. Not with cruelty, but with resilience, with a will to survive that had teeth and claws and patience. 31 hours after the last Salesian vessel had fallen, the first ships of the hegemony reinforcement fleet folded into Earth's orbit. Their arrival was meant to signal dominance, authority, the overwhelming power of a civilization that had held together 100 species through discipline and force. Instead, they arrived to find the war already won. Vex'tulia stood at the central console in Earth's orbital command tower as the fleet's arrival was announced. Dozens of sleek, shimmering vessels, flagships of old wars, hovered above the planet, waiting for orders, waiting for answers. The message came through moments later. Ambassador Dolthan, this is Supreme Executor Yavith. We are in position. Please transmit planetary assessment and tactical control handover. Vex'tulia didn't respond immediately. Instead, she turned to President Morova and Captain Harper. The humans didn't gloat. They didn't smile. They simply waited, as they had all along, for a choice to be made. I am altering the transmission, Vex'tulia said aloud. No handover. No command transfer. Just a full report. She pressed her clawed hand to the console and began recording. This is Ambassador Vex'tulia Dolthan. Earth remains secure. The Salesian attack has been repelled. No assistance was required. No oversight is warranted. She paused, letting the silence settle. I recommend full recognition of Earth as a sovereign member of the galactic hegemony with immediate effect. Their tactical models, defense coordination, and readiness far exceed Class 3 expectations. In many respects, they exceed Class 2. Another pause. And I urge the Council to listen, not as rulers, but as peers. She ended the message and sent it into the void. When she turned, Harper only nodded. You could have claimed credit. I didn't win this, she said simply. You did. No. We did, Morova corrected. And if we're smart, this is only the beginning. A few hours later, select members of the hegemony fleet were allowed to descend for joint review and coordination. Commanders from more than a dozen species stood in stunned silence as they toured battle sites, examined Salesian wreckage, and debriefed Earth's military liaisons. None had expected what they saw. Not just the technology, but the philosophy. The sheer audacity of turning a moon into a weapon, of converting entire continents into guerrilla battlegrounds, of blending primitive tools with stolen alien designs into something new. Most importantly, they hadn't expected to respect it. That night, in a quiet corner of the orbital station, Vex'tulia met again with Harper. You were right, she said. About the hegemony. About how soft we'd become. I wasn't trying to insult you. No. You were trying to survive. And you succeeded. She watched the planet below. You've reminded us of something we forgot, she continued. That peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the willingness to fight for something more than survival. He said nothing, but the look in his eyes told her he understood. We used to believe our age gave us wisdom, she said. But maybe it just made us complacent. Harper crossed his arms. Maybe. But the good news? You've got us now. Vex'tulia gave a slow nod. And the galaxy, she said, will never be the same. In the weeks that followed, Earth's name spread through every hegemony system. Not as a footnote, not as a warning, but as a force. The footage of Salesian vessels falling to primitive kinetic weapons, of orbital tractor arrays halting suicide runs, of entire moons erupting in thermonuclear defiance, was replayed across galactic networks. Analysts struggled to categorize what humanity had done. Was it genius? Madness? Both? The council debated, but the galaxy watched. And humanity, uninvited, underestimated, unyielding, had made its entrance. Vex'tulia returned to the council chambers to present Earth's formal petition. She brought with her the complete recordings, the battle data, and something no hegemony emissary had ever offered before: humility. She spoke not of threats, not of conquest, but of alliance. There is a species, she said to the assembled governors, who were given no reason to believe they would be accepted, so they prepared to stand alone. And when the time came, they stood not just for themselves, but for something far greater. Some protested. Earth was too new, too raw, too unpredictable. But others, those who had long feared the Salaxians but never dared to fight them, saw the truth. And when the vote was cast, the result was unprecedented. Unanimous. Earth would be granted full member status, on equal footing. Not out of pity, not out of pressure, but out of respect. Back on Earth, in a ceremony attended by representatives from every corner of the known galaxy, the hegemony's banner and the flag of United Earth were raised side by side. A single statement was broadcast alongside them. Peace through strength. Unity through defiance. Survival through understanding. Harper stood beside Vex'tulia as the crowds roared. He looked uncomfortable in ceremonial dress. She found it oddly fitting. I never thought I'd be the one to welcome aliens into our alliance, he said. You earned it, Vex'tulia replied. So what now, he asked. She turned toward the stars. Now, we learn from each other. We rebuild. And then, we look outward. To where? Everywhere. As the stars shimmered above them, Earth rotated beneath, scarred, smoldering, but defiant, and ready. Humanity, once a footnote in the galactic ledger, had not only survived its trial, it had redefined it. They had proven that species did not need age to be wise, did not need fleets to be dangerous, and did not need permission to rise. The dragons had slept for too long. Now they soared. The universe would never be the same again.